Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel, Planning with Bree. Today I will be doing my setup for my bullet journal for March of this year. I chose the theme black, white, and gray with a lot of multimedia as well as a few drawings of lotus flowers and another flower that, to be honest, I'm not quite sure what the name of it is. I just chose to use the petals that I saw on a wallpaper design. So I'm starting this cover page out with some scraps that I had from my February bullet journal setup, as well as some scraps that I have from just playing around with what I wanted for this month. So as I said, I wanted some multimedia, which I promised myself I would get into a little bit more for this month, which is where the gray pieces come in. And you'll see a little bit later when I do my Dutch door how I got those gray pieces. They're just a little left over from the gray font that I used for the back half of my Dutch door. So for these flowers that I'm creating or drawing in right here, as I said, I saw a wallpaper that was this flower shape, and it was a petal that was exactly the same in every part of the design. So I decided to create a stencil. So I used this craft paper that I have, like the brown craft paper that I've used in my Tabitha Brown spread for her book, Feeding the Soul. And I just used that paper to draw out one leaf. I cut it out, and you can see me using it for the stencil here. Now, my original plan was to draw these flowers out underneath everything, but I forgot. So after I drew out all of the black flowers where I wanted them, I lined up the stencil on the black paper so that the flower was continuous throughout the entire spread. So I'm going to do it again up here in the top right hand corner of the black paper. I'm going to line up that stencil so that the flower matches the same shape on the black paper, and I'm going to outline it in white. So right now I'm just outlining the flowers where I want them before I go in with the intricate designs. So I usually do more colorful themes, and I love colors. I love experimenting with the markers and the paints, the watercolors specifically. But for this month in particular, I just wanted to do something that I thought was going to be simple. This turned out to be a very not simple design because I wanted it to look nice as best as I could. And when I say that is that I overthink where I want to place like the words that you see on the left hand side and what part of the Maya Angelou poem that you see here that I wanted to include. Everything was thought out. I placed it down on my bullet journal page and used a paper clip to keep it in that spot before I started filming. So if you are one of those people who overthinks like me, I would suggest to just paper clip it where you want it so that you don't forget. If you are very meticulous about the placing of certain elements of your spreads. If you are not, and you are just very go with the flow and very carefree with things like this, number one, I wish I were you. And then number two, just keep doing what you're doing. I really want to get to the point where I can see things how I want them and just lay it out without having to do a pre-design, as I like to call it. And this is a little bit reminiscent of the spread I did in February because the pictures that I decided to use, I actually took a pencil and outlined the shapes of the pictures, and then I wrote a note of what picture I wanted to put in that spot. So I do this a couple of different ways when it comes to the layout. So I wanted to fill in these lines as best as I could. The thin lines that I'm getting on this flower in particular, honestly, they were purely accidental. So I was trying to draw them as best as I could in a way that you could still see them with the camera. So if I draw straight up and down, the pen is in the lens and it's not a good shot for the camera. So I was turning the pen sideways so that you could have a good view of it. And it just turned out to be some really thin lines. So here I'm doing the same thing, just kind of going in with this white gel pen. I'm using my Uniball, my Signo Uniball white gel pen to fill in everything, to fill in all of these lines. So when I'm filling these flowers in, as you can see, the first thing I do is fill in the main lines, or where I want the heaviest or the darkest line to be, and then I fill in the rest. So when you are drawing things that have a highlight, usually you would use white or a lighter color, but since I'm using lines to basically create the color of the flower, I just use the dashes to create the highlight. So I create a space with the line so that there is a highlight in the flower and it's just not one continuous line. I am going to move on to the second part of the cover page, which now at this point, I do want to mention that I am outside. I love to film outside. The lighting is beautiful and it started to rain. So a few raindrops got on my page here. And if you can tell, maybe not, but the A in March, it's a very heavy black. I just skipped it right there because it's already very heavy because there was water on the page where the A is. And so I'm kind of rushing to get through this page so that I can move inside. But I had the idea to lay down some font underneath the lotus flower because if you have been watching my channel for at least one video, then you know that I love the aesthetic of words behind either more vibrant, thicker, bolder words or flowers or shapes or other designs. And that's something that I wanted to capture for this page. So the way my mind works, I'm not sure why, I wanted to lay down the second part of my spreads before cutting the Dutch door. So I'm going to cut this Dutch door so that the flower or the leaves are spread out onto the next page. So there will be an indent right here, which I'm creating of the leaves that are to the far right of the flower. So I'm trying to curve the scissors along the petals to create the same shape, but I also want to have somewhat of an edge around the flower. I don't want to cut right on the flower itself so that you can see a little bit of that negative space. And then I'm tinkering around with the shape of the line that I cut, and I finally get it. And that's my cover page. Can we just take a moment to soak in the amazingness of this cover page? It's beautiful. I'm going in with the lightest gray marker that I have just to add a little bit of depth to the flower. And then once I am done here, I am going to move on to the next page. I do want to mention that I did use the word March as the stem of the flower. That is something that I saw I'm pretty sure it was a tattoo, to be honest. I get my inspiration from all types of places, and that was one of the things that I saw that I was like, yes, I love that. So I created that lotus flower and I used the word March as the stem. So at this point, I have moved inside. I am done fighting the rain. So I lost a little bit of footage of writing down my morning routine on this black page that I glued down. And then I'm just going to use the bottom portion of this spread to write the quote, create routines instead of habits. Now I'm just going to go in with my stencil and create these petals wherever I see fit, some negative space that I think could be brightened up with this white flower petal. So the next page I'm creating, I did call it habits, and then I remembered the quote and I said, well, that seems a little hypocritical. So I changed it to routines. And I wrote it in this font. And again, if you have not checked out my February bullet journal setup, please go check it out. But in that spread, I did not do any hand lettering. And by the time I got to this month and I wanted to do some hand lettering or just any type of pretty handwriting, it's almost as if I didn't know how to do it anymore. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? So the routines turned out pretty cute, but there are some moments in this spread where I'm thinking to myself, wow, I can't take off hand lettering. I can't do it and still go back to it. I'm not as sharp as some other YouTubers out there. So for my routines, I have my morning routine, which I do want to track. The first thing I want to do when I get up in the morning is my first 15, which includes praise and worship, reading the Bible or scripture, and then prayer. And I decided to break these 3 down for last month as well as this month, because in previous months, I just had the habit of first 15. And if I did even one of those 3 things, I would shade it in. And that's not quite true. In my mind, it is great that I did one of those 3 things, but that's not the entire first 15. So I use this tracker to determine which one of those 3 things or which 2 of those 3 things am I not doing on a consistent basis, so that I can make sure that I continue to do that. I also have read. I am reading the book Americana right now. Love that book. It's my 3rd time trying to read it, but I'm now at a good place where I want to continue. I also have eat my veggies, the Heather Robertson 12-week program, as well as my AM routine. Once I'm done with that design at the top of the page, it's time to move on to my mood tracker. If you know me, you know that I love a good creative mood tracker. I love a colorful mood tracker. I love the mood trackers. I do. So for this mood tracker, I'm drawing a very big lotus flower that has 31 leaves, 1 for each day, or I should say 31 petals. So since this entire spread is neutral, black, white, and gray, I am thinking about the colors that I want to include for this mood tracker. So after I fill in all of the lines of the petals, I go in and I just fill out the numbers. I will say with creative mood trackers, it is very important to make sure that you go through in pencil first to make sure that you have enough sections for every day of the month. So for instance, one of these petals had 2 numbers on them. Since these petals are extremely large and they are sometimes a very irregular shape, it can seem like the petal, if I put the number at the edge of the petal, then the beginning of the petal is blank. So I had a 5 and a 12 on one petal, and I had to add another one, but I caught that when I was doing my pencil drawing. The next part of this spread says, and why? And I chose to include this one line of a day page, basically, because when I fill in my mood trackers, sometimes I go back to look at them and I think, wow, why was I irritated for 3 days straight? Which is something that I wanted to include. Now, there are many different ways that I choose to use my bullet journal when it comes to expressing my feelings. My last way that I did it, and something that I will continue to do, is the ABC method for cognitive behavioral therapy, I'm sure it's called. I'm not a therapist, obviously. And the last step of that ABC process is to create alternative thoughts that are more appropriate or just more enlightening and encouraging than the negative thoughts that I can have. So I am just fixing the lettering that I didn't like at first. I went back and made some of the parts darker with my, what is that pen called that everyone loves to use? You guys know what I'm talking, the Micron. It's not a Signo, it's a Micron. So I do want to talk about that pen for just a moment. This Micron pen is kind of like a fine Sharpie. I love it. I really do like it. But if you know me and you've watched some of my videos, you know I love the G2 Pilot. One thing that this Micron pen has over the G2 Pilot is less smudging, and I can get with that. Other than that, it's just a fine Sharpie to me. It doesn't bleed as much. It's not as heavy, I guess you could say. But to be honest, and I hate to say this, not really, but kind of, I don't see what the hype is about. Beautiful pen. I had to try it, but yeah, it's between this and my G2 Pilot. So this page that I'm creating has a one-line drawing of a lotus flower. I love one-line drawings. You can check out my bullet journal setup and see a lot of different examples of one-line drawings that I have in my journal, as well as a few scraps again for the designs on this page. And this is my call list where I will write down the names of people in my family and my friend circle who I want to make sure I call. This is the final flip through of the spread. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week. Bye.